This year provides a really big opportunity for e-commerce businesses, but it's crucial that you've got to approach your business in a different way this year. I think with the way things are at the moment this year, you simply can't afford to.
The difference between success and failure often come down to this one thing.
The difference between taking years to succeed with this and reaching your goals in months all comes down to just having.
If you're starting out right now and you want to fast track your success, then I'd say you should start by...
You might be thinking, well, can I really even do this? Can I build an e-commerce business? Is it for me? Can I do something that's scalable and profitable? Well, the truth is, welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording podcast episodes or running our own e-commerce businesses, you'll find us helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping stores. So if you're ready to build your own 6 or even 7-figure online business, then head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. Now, sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Today, we're going to be discussing between Lewis and I what we think are the 3 key steps that will set you up for e-commerce success this year. So, Lewis, I think it's clear that the landscape is changing fast in e-commerce and online business generally. So we're going to try and distill this right down to the 3 main things that we think people should focus on to have huge success this year, and more so in this year than any more before. So let's reveal all in this conversation. Straight away, let's dive into what you think is that first crucial step for people to understand.
Well, I think if you're looking to start a physical product e-commerce business, the foundations that you build that business on are probably the place to start, especially reverse engineering what you want to achieve from the business eventually. What's your end goal? What's your, is this a lifestyle business for you? Is this something that you want to replace your income and create a certain amount of freedom and autonomy and control, in which case you probably want to make certain decisions that might be different from what some businesses would have you do, versus if you were creating a business that then becomes your full-time job and that you're chained to a desk all day or going into warehouses. And, there can be very different roads to go down, even within the e-commerce space. Certainly, my approach was always to take higher value products, to sell higher ticket e-commerce products, purely because it meant that I needed less of them to make the desired income. But it also then allowed for less admin. It meant less customer service to have to work with. It meant making more profit per sale. It meant being profitable on sale number 1, so not having to be as good with ads and things like that. So I think that's key. The other bit is around suppliers and quality of suppliers, like domestic suppliers, so UK-based suppliers, for ensuring that you get fast delivery out to customers, easy returns, like nice, friendly customer service, and customers that are happy with the quality of the products that they're receiving. Those would be the foundations I'd think about if I was going into this for the first time this year.
And it's good to have the kind of end in mind from the very start, so you know what type of business you want to have in a year or 3 years or 5 years time. So then when you have that vision in mind, you know the decisions that you're going to make to put the right foundations in place for a business that actually allows for that lifestyle. It would be quite easy to just jump into a business because you want to make quick cash online in the next month or 2, but that would make sure that you make very different decisions based on if you're making decisions based on a real lifestyle vision that you've got in mind. Is that how you got started initially when you had your online business? Did you think about the future from the very start?
Yeah, I did. And I probably didn't do it as strategically as I would now. But at the very, very beginning, I wasn't familiar or even aware of the options. They say that you don't know what you don't know, right? So if I was thinking, well, I want a business, I want a life of freedom, I want to be able to run it from a laptop, I didn't at that time understand the economics and the offsetting the cost per acquisition with something like paid ads with a nice profitable high ticket sale on the front end. I didn't really get that. So I guess I went into it a little bit naively, a little bit blindly, and just thought, well, I'll just sell the kind of like low end, cheaper products that I think I could sell and that I think I'm worth, in terms of as an e-commerce beginner at the time. And yeah, that probably set me back a little bit, that misunderstanding or that naivety around the model. But over time, You just continue learning, you continue progressing, you make some mistakes, you're not striving for perfection. You're just trying to make those 1% improvements every day. And along the way, those mistakes, I think you just have to view them as feedback. You just look at them and say, okay, that wasn't quite right. I wasn't profitable enough when I was selling those low ticket products. I ended up with an inbox full of customers that weren't happy with the items and the suppliers being in China and stuff. So I set small achievable goals to avoid burnout, both in terms of income goals, but also lifestyle goals. Like one of which was being able to move to Thailand, being able to leave my corporate 9 to 5 job at the time and travel the world and run my business from a laptop. And so because I kept those things in mind, it's almost like a sat nav in your mind. Like you've set the destination, the target place that you're trying to get to. And then along the way, your brain's very good at figuring out the journey and figuring out the mistakes and the pitfalls and the things you need to avoid to get there, as long as you keep reminding yourself of why you're doing this, what the end destination is. And for me, it was a life of autonomy, freedom, control, not being chained to a desk, not having to deal with thousands of customer service tickets every day, and to make nice high ticket and profitable sales with customers that were really happy with their orders. And for me, that's why the domestic, what we call the home turf advantage model, where you're selling higher priced items from UK suppliers who can offer next day delivery to customers. And that's why it made sense.
And that's why it makes sense. But you have to understand, we've been through these mistakes. We started by going with a e-commerce business that was low ticket and poor quality products that were being shipped from around the world. And what that led to, even a few years ago, was unhappy customers, impatient customers, because rightly so, they were waiting weeks for their products to arrive. And the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I received a return back from Canada to the UK that had been shipped to the customer from China. And the emissions must have been crazy for this order. But the camel that really broke my back was when I opened the package and the smell of the return. I'm still haunts me to this day, because I'm sure that customer did something to the product for it to smell that bad. Or maybe that's how it arrived and that's why I wanted to return it. I don't know. But it's just an example of sometimes you put yourself into these positions. If you don't make a conscious decision from the very start how you want your business to look, with really low returns and quick deliveries and friendly customers as much as you can possibly make, it makes a big difference to the actual running of the business when you've made those decisions up front.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like it's all bright on the other side, in terms of like you're still going to get difficult customers. But if you only need one sale a day or even like a few sales a week to replace your income, I can deal with one or two difficult customers here and there that maybe have expectations that are up here and unrealistic. And especially if the profit that I'm getting from those orders gives me the budget and the buffer to be able to hire somebody who is a pro customer service ninja and can just jump in and do that work for me. So I don't have to even, because I find it quite socially draining when I'm having to kind of be the front person to the business at the same time as like do everything else, wear all the hats. I'm not particularly cut out to be like the person managing support tickets in the inbox. For some people, that's their kind of, that's their strength, that's their forte. So, they're super organized. They don't get emotionally affected when a customer's asking for a return or whatever, or, is unhappy about something because a courier broke a product or something on the way, because it's not their business, it's not their baby. They've not got that same level of pride, but they can absolutely still offer amazing service, especially if you kind of align the incentive structure correctly and, incentivize them for getting positive customer reviews and things like that. And it can really help. So yeah, absolutely. I don't know what that customer did to the product that they returned to you. Maybe they put a stink bomb in there or something and then like wrapped it up, but something nasty. But yeah, there's all kinds of weird and wonderful stories that you end up getting when you do sell directly to customers. That I'm sure we've got an inbox full of those kinds of stories, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. It was all a good lesson, and I'm thankful for it in the end. I think it was probably some sort of stink bomb, and he thought it'd be hilarious because he knew he had to deliver it back from Canada to the UK. And to be fair, hold my hands up. I just, it was poor service, and I just didn't understand the business that I was building at that time. I hadn't given it enough thought. I didn't realize the foundations I was putting in place was just these types of things were inevitable. And so I was always like logging into my Facebook business ad account, and I'd see comments of people that understood that those cheap products I was trying to sell from AliExpress were just cheap products from China. And that was the comments I was getting on my Facebook ads. And I was having an inbox full of things to deal with. And it all reminded me that you got to make these decisions up front because it'll impact how you run your business long term. So, I mean, now more than ever, I think we need to understand that customers are more savvy, I'd say. And I wonder if you agree with this, Lewis, in terms of fast delivery, quality of products, the quality of ads that they see, the quality of service that they're going to receive, I think it's a different ballgame compared to how it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. And the types of customer comments that you refer to there is funny. I see it sometimes because I'll get targeted with an ad that I can see is drop shipping a product from a supplier in China, from AliExpress or Alibaba or whatever, and or Temu or all these other ones popping up now. And the comments on there, it's almost like people playing the role of vigilante. They're almost just like, I'll save you from paying $30 for this little kitchen scrubber widget thing. Like, here it is for $2.99 on AliExpress. Go and order it. And you just think, the business owner there like felt that they could kind of create a business around this arbitrage of like, I'll find it where no one else will find it for that price, and then I'll just mark it up by 10 times, and that's how I'll make my money. What they fail to realize is that those suppliers are just selling directly to consumers from China now, and that speed is only going to get faster. So I think that those days are really gone. The businesses operating on that model are withering away. But I do think if you're selling products from suppliers in the UK who don't sell directly to the public, who don't have a desire to be a direct to consumer brand because they have a partnership or a network of retailers who do the direct to customer facing relationship, they do the customer service, they do the marketing and the advertising. You think about it for a second from their view, put yourself in the supplier's shoes. If you wanted an easy life as a supplier, you can totally understand why they do it, can't you? Because if you just said, well, look, I don't want a massive operation of like having to have hundreds of things going out left, right, and center, orders coming back in. Like, I just want to have a warehouse with 2 people that work in it that just send out orders as and when we get orders through, and we just collect the cash from the retailer. They do the marketing, they do the ad spend, they do all of that stuff. And so they can give it to you for a trade price, a wholesale price at maybe 40% discount from what it would be at retail, or 30% discount. And then when you're marking it up, you're not marking up a product that someone could have gone on the internet and bought for 40% cheaper elsewhere, because they're not selling it to the public at that price. Instead, you're just selling it at the same price as all of the other retailers. And so you're not going to get those vigilante customers commenting, being like, hey, you can get this for, 40% cheaper on this website, because that isn't the case. And the next question that people often ask is, well, why would someone buy it from you versus others? And we've done episodes about that in the past, haven't we? But like, it's not just price that you can differentiate on. You can actually make your website buying experience a lot better than others. There are other value adds, there's customer service, there's free gifts, there's buyer's guides. And actually the best thing of all is they found you first. Visibility. So if you're better at running ads and your ad appears first, most customers, when they click that, they're not then looking for other products elsewhere because they've clicked yours. And then over the next few days, they see a retargeting ad on Instagram and another one on Facebook, all with your brand on it. And eventually they just make the decision to purchase, as long as there aren't any big glaring red flags preventing them from trusting you. So I think that's the key.
Yeah, and there's lots of things that we can do to differentiate ourselves now in the market as well. We can create a brand around our business, our website, because it's our own website, it's our own brand name, which will resonate with certain customers so that they choose us over going to suppliers direct or other retailers, if the suppliers sell direct anyway. So lots of things we can do now to be more savvy in today's market. And when it comes to ads, I think the key thing there you mentioned is, as long as we run our ad campaign in a way that's getting to customers first, then, like you say, we're putting our ad in front of people who are already looking for the product, and we have the exact product that they're looking for at the same price everyone else is selling it, and we're a trusted retailer authorized to sell those products. And that's how we make a big business, through running these kind of operations. And so clearly, I hope you've hammered it home. The initial thoughts you have around the foundations you put in place will be crucial for how your business succeeds, not just in the first few days, weeks, and months, but for years. We're still making sales every day with the businesses that we've set up years ago, because we put the right foundations in place from the very start. Moving on to the second step for everyone to consider, I think it's important that we tap into the mindset that's more important now than ever before as well. What would you say is like the big step around mindset that people need to understand this year?
Well, ultimately, the mindset that you go into this with will determine the actions that you take, the steps that you take to actually achieve the results that you're going after. So it really is the foundation of everything else that your business is built upon. If it's built on an uncertain or a shaky mindset, the whole thing comes tumbling down. So there's why we have inside the Dropship Unlocked programs, we have a very, very kind of intentional starting point where we help you shift that mindset away from perfection. Because I think sometimes people come into this and what holds them back is they're like a deer in the headlights of like, there's so many things you could do if perfect was the end goal. If like perfect was the point where we said we all must get to before we do anything or launch, we would all be just like stuck in this kind of analysis paralysis, procrastination, not sure which way to turn. There's an overwhelming amount of things to do. And what happens when we get overwhelmed by all of that stuff? We just shut the computer down and walk away. Because it's almost like, well, I don't know where to start. There's too much there. And I can kind of pretend to myself that I'll get round to it. But if I am fundamentally aligned with like, I have to get to perfection before I can launch, then I will never get launched, because we're never going to get perfect until we're launched, because it's an iterative process. You build it over time. It's the 1% per day, per week, per month, incremental improvements. So I think, focusing on progress, not focusing on perfection, and just making sure you're setting those small achievable goals, those milestones, celebrating them as well when you achieve them, when you get your first supplier signed, when you launch your ad campaign, when you make your first sale, when you make your first 10K, like those things really kind of take some time to just document that and be proud of yourself and look back at how far you've come, not give yourself a hard time, and just make sure that as long as you're moving forwards and you're kind of enjoying the journey and enjoying that progress and you're learning and you're absorbing every day, you're in the right direction. So you don't have to beat yourself up and think, my site's not as good as this site, which has been there for 10 years, and they've developed and developed and developed. It's like you have a great starting point with Shopify. It makes it easier than ever now to get something live, professional, and looking amazing and looking very established from day one. It's easier than it's ever been to do that. So really, I think that's the key shift going into this year. It's like, get out of that deer in the headlights mindset and just start moving. Just start taking one step after the other and moving in the right direction. And you'll start feeling that momentum and recognizing that this feels good. I'm actually moving here. And as you move, the more momentum you get, the better you feel, the more you want to do, the more action you take, the better. So there's this great cycle. So that's what I see the biggest shift is when people go from stuck to actually starting to get results. It's just that they started taking some steps.
So powerful, this stuff, because when we look at all of our members inside the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass, they've all got step one correct, because they've chosen a model that they've taken time to understand is right for their lifestyle goals. And then the next biggest differentiator between the rest of the masterclass about who's going to have most success is not the skills they come in with, it's not the experience, it's a clear thread in the mindset of the most successful people. They come to us open to learn, they come to us with an enthusiasm, they're positive, they want to learn, they want to build a successful business. And crucially, they don't fall into the trap of perfectionism. So I think perfectionism is actually the way I've experienced it. When I feel that need to be perfect and to keep working on something before releasing it, it actually is a bit of a mask. I find perfectionism for myself is like an excuse for procrastinating or dabbling or not going all in and taking the action. So I think perfectionism actually masquerades as something that's a good thing because you think you're doing a great job making something really well. But that's kind of the deadly side of it, because you don't think it's an issue, because you think you're doing the right thing. You think you're just improving or raising the standards. But as with everything in life, it's always a balance. And on that sliding scale of perfectionism, you can either be somebody that never takes action or always striving for something that's perfect before releasing. And on the other end of the scale, it's somebody that's just releasing things without giving it any thought. And I fell into that camp when I started my first dropshipping business as a complete failure, because I was just keen to get started. So there is a bit of a balance. But where would you say, Lewis, that most people on our masterclass fall on that balance? Do they more lean towards perfectionism, would you say, or are they more leaning to just getting started regardless of the standards?
Yeah, it's action. You've got to lean towards the side of action and launching imperfectly. What's the quote around, like, if you're not embarrassed by your first version of your product, then you waited too long to launch. So yeah, it's and it's kind of true, and it hurts because we all want to be really proud of the thing that we put out there into the world, and if you're a creator and you enjoy the process of building and progress like I do, sometimes we mistake learning with taking action and progress, and learning's great up to a point, but there's only a point where It's like the sponge can only take so much until it reaches saturation, and then the water just starts dripping out. Like it's like, I can't take any more knowledge right now. I need to just start actually doing some stuff. And then I kind of free up capacity in the sponge to take in and absorb more. Right. I think that the problem is sometimes people like put their sponge on the side and just pour water on it and hope that it's just going to absorb everything and that will be the answer. It's like, no, the sponge has to go to work. It has to do something. It has to, put some steps into action, and then you can learn from your journey and learn from your process and learn from what your customers are saying. And the first few phone calls you have with customers or emails where they're like, oh, I couldn't find this on your site, or I didn't understand this. And you're like, light bulb goes on. I need to fix that. But at least I spoke to the customer. Now I can tell them I fixed it. Maybe we close the sale. If we hadn't done that, we'd have never spoken to the customer. We'd have never known that that's what the customer wanted. And so there's no chance we would have ever closed the sale.
Love it. Yeah, I love the sponge analogy. It's so true, but that's how we pick up information, isn't it? And we often think that you can just keep getting more and more information, and the more information you have, the better the outcome. But it's just not the case, is it? It's always about action on the information that you've been given. And that's where we need to hopefully help out with members or anyone listening today. It's about being action oriented, and that's going to lead to a lot more success. So yeah, if you were a sponge, stop taking up water and start washing the body or something. Fill in the analogy. Okay, set 3 then. We've got the right foundations. We've got the right mindset in place. Now, I think something that's crucial in both of our journeys is that we've always got around people and communities and mentors to help us with learning and basically speed up the success that we've seen. So do you think this year that is a crucial part for people to be successful, is to get around others?
Absolutely. Yeah. In the post pandemic era, where like kind of a lot of that connection was lost, but then a lot of the world went online, and like loads of people stopped working from an office and started working from home, and we kind of lost that sense of connection and community. And I really do think that if you're working in isolation on your own on a desert island, like trying to just, head down, I'm just going to do it all myself, and it can be a very difficult and unenjoyable learning curve, because you're getting no feedback mechanism. You're getting no kind of course correction as you go. You could just be driving in the wrong direction with no sat nav and not know until you're miles off course. And so it helps you avoid that learning curve. I think having that mentorship, having that community, and what that does by avoiding that learning curve is then saves you a lot of time and money that you would have otherwise wasted. Because those are the two resources, aren't they, that you're ultimately going to expend by trying to do it on your own. Is that you're going to spend a lot of money because you're going to waste loads of money on ads that don't work, on building things and paying for subscription services and paying for mechanisms and apps and agencies and stuff that just doesn't do what you need it to do and is kind of misdirected spend. But you'll also waste loads of time trying to fix those problems and figure that stuff out. And if you could just kind of cut all of that time and ask people who are already on the path that you want to proceed down what they did, not only do you save the time, but you also can direct the money that you get to get a much higher return on investment along your journey. So you're only spending money on the right things along the way. So I think, mentors can provide insights, strategies that you might never have even stumbled across on your own. But also there's the element of accountability. I think that really helps as well. It's making sure that you are focused on the right tasks and that you're doing what you said you were going to do, and you're not just a sponge, just absorbing information but not doing anything. It's making sure you've got someone there to kind of check in with you and say like, okay, so when we spoke last week, you said you were going to do that. Have we done it yet? Where are we at? And then there's that sense of like, if you know that coaching call is coming up and you haven't done the thing yet, say it's happening today at 6 p.m. and you're thinking, I haven't done the thing that I know they're going to ask me about on there. Maybe that's the kick that you needed to actually get the thing done. And so that's why it can be this kind of like secret weapon for you, having that accountability and that support network to get you up and running.
Yeah. It's so healthy. It's like a healthy pressure. I see it to have somebody on your side that wants you to succeed. And when it's just you doing something, it's so easy to let yourself off the hook. If you say that you're going to launch by X date and you've just told yourself that, well, if you don't make that date, you don't let anyone down, and you don't feel like you've actually changed the way that you're perceived by anyone, because it's only you that you've let down. So you do take a big hit in sort of self-confidence, which is something that we shouldn't overlook as well. But crucially, it's a lot easier to let yourself off the hook if you don't have somebody around you. And if it's somebody that you aspire to be, if you're someone that inspires you, that's even better. I think you often hold yourself to higher standards if you're putting yourself around somebody that you feel inspired by. because you want to put your best foot forward. You want to show your best self in front of those people. That's something behind having a mentor as well, that you probably turn up differently to somebody that you aspire to be like, rather than just a friend or somebody in the same peer group. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you can get around people that you're aspiring to be like, you naturally raise yourself up to the average of those people in the room. So yeah, join a community or get around a group of people that are where you want to go. That's going to be the best way for you to kind of learn by osmosis and start to level up. Because if you don't, you're the odd one out, and that's a huge advantage.
100%. We're all about advantages here and shortcuts. I think, accountability for me, once I joined the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass, I saw my business so much more differently. I saw it like I was taking it a lot more seriously when I told people that I was doing it, rather than the mistake you talked about already on the podcast today was when I went into a dropshipping business. I thought, I'll just do this on my own, won't tell anyone. And then, you don't take it as seriously. I certainly didn't anyway. Something that I would like to shout out would be episode 101 of the podcast, because it's related to what you were mentioning there, Lewis, about how you can save thousands if you take the right steps from the very start. So episode 101 to queue up after this one, I'd recommend, is about the top 5 dropshipping mistakes that we see people make that can cost people thousands. So yeah, have a read through of that, or listen to that one as well. Now, for somebody to start, they've got the right mindset, they've got the right foundations, they've got the accountability in place with a mentor. Where would you suggest that they actually take the first step once they finish listening to today's episode?
Yeah, to avoid the overwhelm, I think you just got to start with the very first step. Don't worry about the huge long-term game plan yet. Just start small and then build out that vision as you go, once you understand what's possible. Now, the first step, this is the good news, is always the hardest, because that's the one that most people avoid taking. But once you take that first step, it's like you've stepped out of the headlights. You're the deer that stepped out of the headlights, and now you're moving, now you're walking. And then momentum will follow, because you'll feel good that you're now not paralyzed by indecision and fear, and that you can keep moving forward and keep progressing and keep taking imperfect action every single day and improving. And so if you're not sure where to begin, that's why we created dropshipunlocked.com/start. There you get everything laid out for you, the first steps to take, the accountability you'll need to get you out of the headlights and start moving forwards.
Are you enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. And for detailed show notes and resources, visit dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value in any episode of this podcast, please could you take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your favorite podcast app? It helps us more than you can imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments read out on the show. Thanks for being a part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering new episodes to you every week.
Now it's time in the podcast to answer a question that we've received from a listener. So we'd like to do this because if you have a question on your mind, we'd love to answer it for you. So you can comment beneath the YouTube video version of this episode to get your questions answered. And it won't just be answered in the comments. It may also be answered on an upcoming podcast episode. So that's exactly what somebody has done online, and their YouTube handle is quite topical actually. It's called Tomorrow May Be Too Late 5853. And funnily enough, they've asked a question similar to what we were talking about today. And they've asked, question, will the market not be saturated?
Will the market not be saturated? Yeah, well, thank you for your question. Tomorrow may be too late. And that is very true. Tomorrow may be too late. No, the market is expanding. You know, that's the reality. It's not shrinking. It's not like e-commerce is declining every year and people are buying less and less online, and the high streets are starting to really boom and everyone's like, that would be a totally different reality, wouldn't it? We all know that more and more people are building that online presence. They're getting the confidence to buy stuff online when maybe they wouldn't have before. And I think as more people are beginning to shop online, competition that appears online is a sign of demand, not oversaturation. It's a sign that there is so much more demand online that retailers are going there because they can see that's where customers are now spending their money. So because more people are shopping online than ever before, with a much broader age range as well of customers becoming regular online shoppers. Remember the days where like the older generation would be like petrified of putting a credit card in online initially, when kind of the younger generation were more familiar with the internet. It's just not the case anymore. Like with Apple Pay, Google Pay, people are buying stuff on their phones from the sofa or their iPads every day without even considering the kind of the types of things that used to hold them back from it, like, oh, will my card be safe? Like that stuff with Shopify has almost just disappeared. So now it's just a case of value proposition and can you give someone the service and the experience and the product that they're looking for and make it an easy shopping experience because they're going to buy it somewhere. So why not have it be from you? So with any thriving market, as you do start to get more competitors, it just means that if the market's expanding, the pie is expanding. So yeah, there might be more people in there like requesting a slice, but if the overall pie is growing and expanding, you're able to still benefit from that growth while only still taking your reasonable sized slice of that pie. We're not looking to acquire the entire market. That would be a different story. Remember what we said about how there are other ways that you can stand out as well through your brand positioning. So you can make a really nice curated selection of products or provide excellent customer service or provide a really slick user interface and nice customer shopping experience. That I think those are just some examples of ways that you can stand out beyond just trying to discount and be the cheapest. So yeah, I think the competition in the market is a good thing. It shows that the model works. It shows that other people are succeeding. They wouldn't be there as competitors in business earning money if it didn't work. And it shows that the concept of drop shipping, as they call it, but the reality is it's just direct online dispatch from suppliers. It is a viable model. Now, drop shipping is a broad umbrella term, right? So if we're talking about the products from AliExpress, doing that thing we talked about earlier, buying something at $3, marking it up to 30, in that sense, I think you're right. It is saturated with people trying to do that arbitrage model and just trick people into hoping they don't see the AliExpress or the Temu listed version of that product. But in terms of buying trade from a supplier and selling at retail to a customer, I mean, that's not going away anytime soon because that's been here since before the internet. That is a proven, tried and tested model in which suppliers get their products to market. So make sure you set your business up and offer your customers value, because if it resonates with them and they get a great service, they'll stick around, they'll buy more from you. And if you'd like more insights on how to navigate competition in the world of e-commerce and dropshipping, check out episode 32 of the Dropship Unlocked podcast, which was titled, Is Dropshipping Too Competitive?
Perfect. Yeah, great question. Quite a common one that we receive, and you did a great job there, Lewis, of overcoming that. And there is more episodes that we've dedicated to it if you want to learn more. Now, we're going to highlight a recent review that we've had for the podcast, because again, we love to hear the reviews that you're leaving for the podcast, and it means an awful lot. So a big thank you to OE Luxury, who has shared their thoughts in a YouTube comment, actually. And they've said, this is so helpful and full of great insights. Thanks.
Oh, thank you for the review, OE Luxury. We really appreciate it. And we're very glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast. Now, if this episode resonated with you, perhaps you would consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from it. Your recommendation helps us grow our community and continue delivering valuable content like this. So a quick share with a friend could make a big difference to someone you know.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you are leaving with new insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey.
To kickstart your e-commerce business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. It's the perfect place to start and get access to resources that will help you build your business from the ground up.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more episodes packed with strategies, tips, and success stories. Plus, if you enjoyed this episode today, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might even get a shout out on the next episode.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.